The Apple iPad Air M3 has tons of power, but if you want to make it more of a laptop-like device, then you're going to want a keyboard case. And in this video, we're going to compare the Apple Magic Keyboard to the Logitech Combo Touch. These are two of the best options on the market when it comes to a nice compact keyboard case that basically turns your iPad into a mini laptop. In this video, we're going to mostly be focused on the versions of these cases for the iPad Air M3, but you can pick up a Combo Touch or Magic Keyboard that'll work with other models of iPads as well, both the iPad Air and the iPad Pro. So if you've got a different model of iPad than the M3, make sure you look for the correct case for your iPad. Now, when you look at them side by side, the first thing that you will notice, the biggest difference between them is the way the cases work. So the Apple Magic Keyboard has this cantilever design, so it actually raises the iPad up and puts it at a very nice viewing angle. So it adds a little bit of separation from the iPad and the keyboard. This is also a lappable case too, so it's very easy to sit with this on a couch and to type with it. I love the Magic Keyboard. I've been using them for years, and it's a fantastic experience to make your iPad so portable that you can type on it anywhere. The Logitech Combo Touch has a kickstand design on the back instead, so this allows you to adjust the angle of the iPad, which is very convenient, but it does come with the drawback of if you use this on your lap, it will shake because it's not got as much surface area with the kickstand. One thing that is kind of cool with the kickstand is you can adjust the angle with it, but it's not as adjustable as the Magic Keyboard because the Magic Keyboard's cantilever design just gives you so much adjustability. But what is really cool about the Combo Touch is you can actually detach the keyboard from the case, so it's two separate units. So you start by putting this case on the iPad, and then once you have the iPad on, you just attach the case using the magnets, and you can give full protection for your iPad. This case is also about 1 pound lighter than the Magic Keyboard. The Magic Keyboard is substantially heavier than the Combo Touch, and what's really cool about this is I feel like this Combo Touch lets you use the iPad more as an iPad when you don't want to use it as a laptop because you can detach the keyboard with the magnets and you can reverse it and then fold it out of the way. So it gives you additional surface area that you can hold it on the back, but it's out of the way whenever you don't want to use it. With the Magic Keyboard, if you don't want to use it, you actually have to completely remove the iPad, which is very easy because it's just held in by magnets, but that does come at the added issue of less protection for the iPad around the edges. If we look at the Combo Touch, you get much more protection on the iPad. The only part that's left open is the part where you attach the Magic Pencil to recharge. So this is more of a case than the Magic Keyboard actually is. If you compare the Magic Keyboard and the Combo Touch side by side, you will notice that the Combo Touch does take more desk space to use it due to the kickstand on the back of it. I found the typing experience of these to be pretty much identical. The Magic Keyboard to me does feel a little bit more responsive. I like the key travel a little bit better than I do on the Combo Touch, but if I was using one or the other, I wouldn't really notice a difference. Also, if you look at them side by side, both of them have the trackpad. The Apple trackpad is a little bit more responsive and seemed to do better when it wasn't on hard surfaces than the Combo Touch did. I did notice some issues with the Combo Touch not being as responsive if I was using it on my lap. So again, I just really rank the Magic Keyboard as more of the lappable keyboard than the Combo Touch. The function keys are a little bit different if you compare the Apple function keys to the Logitech function keys, but you can do pretty much the same thing with all the function keys on the top of them. The Magic Keyboard is only available in white. The Combo Touch you can either get in the midnight or the Oxford gray colors. Both of them look really nice. Now the pricing is another area where there's quite a bit of difference between these. The Magic Keyboard comes in at $270 if you get the 11-inch version. The Combo Touch is typically somewhere between $150 and $200 depending on the retailer you find it at. And if you get the larger one, it is going to cost a little bit more. So the Combo Touch does save you significantly over the Magic Keyboard. So the keys on both of these are pretty much the same exact size, the volume is about the same, and the typing experience is very similar. I do slightly prefer the Magic Keyboard's typing experience to the Combo Touch, but in a blind test, I'm not sure if I would be able to tell the difference between them. So with the Combo Touch, it's really easy if you just want to detach the keyboard, it just pulls right off. But with the Magic Keyboard, you can easily remove the iPad from the whole keyboard. The main problem with this setup is if you want to do something with the keyboard, you're still going to have to store the keyboard somewhere. So I do appreciate with the Combo Touch, if you don't want the keyboard out, you can just flip it over to the back side and have it out of the way. You will lose the ability to use the kickstand if you do that though. So there's some versatility with the Combo Touch that the Magic Keyboard doesn't have, but the advantage with the Magic Keyboard is it's just so easy to remove or detach the Magic Keyboard because it just magnets right on. So it can be pretty hard to choose between the Magic Keyboard and the Combo Touch because both of them work really well. They both have the trackpad. They both have very great typing performance. If you're trying to decide between the two of them, the thing that you need to ask is if you prefer the cantilever design or if you prefer the kickstand, because that's going to be the main determining factor of which keyboard you should go for. Personally, I prefer the cantilever design. I think it's a little bit more versatile and works better the way I use an iPad, kind of as a mini laptop or note-taking device. But the Combo Touch is also a great option if you're doing more with drawing and illustrating because you have the ability to easily remove the keyboard, or if you want to use it without the keyboard but still have some protection of the case, this is going to be a better option as well. Also, the Magic Keyboard also gives you a second USB-C port, so you get a USB-C port on the side that you can use to keep your iPad charged, and that'll also free your other port up if you need to add other peripherals to it at the same time. I think the kickstand works well. It's just not my preference to have a kickstand on the iPad over having the cantilever design. But you can save significant money if you go with the Combo Touch over the Apple Magic Keyboard. So the choice is really going to be up to you. The Apple Magic Keyboard for the iPad Air is only available in white, but the Combo Touch is available in either gray or midnight. Each of these are going to be compatible with different iPads. This Magic Keyboard is only compatible with the iPad Air M3. The Combo Touch is compatible with several different iPad Air models. We'll have that all in the specs. Or if you have an iPad Pro, you can also get either of these for the iPad Pro as well. So if you're trying to decide between the Magic Keyboard or the Combo Touch, really, there's a couple things you need to consider. If you want the keyboard to be detachable and to still have the case on it, then you need to go with the Combo Touch. If you want to save a little bit of money, get the Combo Touch. If you prefer the kickstand, then get the Combo Touch. Also, if you want to save a little on weight, then get the Combo Touch. But if you prefer the cantilever design, the easy attachment and detachment of the iPad to it, the more responsive trackpad, then that's when I think you should go for the Apple Magic Keyboard instead, because that one's going to give you a more seamless experience than the Combo Touch. But both of these are very great keyboards with plenty of strengths, so the choice is really up to you if you prefer the strengths of the Combo Touch or the strengths of the Apple Magic Keyboard. If you're interested in buying either of these, I do have links to buy them in the description below. If you've got any other question about the Magic Keyboard or the Combo Touch, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear them. Like this video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any upcoming content.